It was 1996 the last time a magic show was presented on Broadway. Tonight, The Illusionists opens at the Marquis Theater, where it runs through January 4th. The show features a company of 7 magicians, each cast in a specialized role. The Illusionist is meant to put a contemporary face on an age-old art, and it's the best chance there's been in years for New Yorkers to get a fix of a big-time theatrical magic show. It'll be interesting to see where The Illusionist is taking the art of conjuring, and if it can capture the attention of audiences in the digital age. I was at a preview of the show where I had the chance to interview Simon Painter, who was instrumental in creating The Illusionists and is one of its producers.
So why did you want to do a show like this?
Well, I've always been a circus producer, so I produce very large-scale thrill shows and cirque shows. And a few years ago, it dawned on me that there just hadn't been a big magic spectacular in the world for a long, long time, since David Copperfield. So I embarked on trying to find what I believe to be the 7 greatest magicians, illusionists in the world in their respective fields.
I know that you had an interest in circus and a background in producing circus. Did you have an interest in magic previously?
Well, I had. I mean, I lived in Vegas for a bit when I was younger, so I'd seen all the magic shows and always loved them. And it just amazed me that there wasn't a show that contained, just what like Cirque du Soleil did to circus, what we did to magic. So that was really it. And we had a wonderful opportunity to open at the Sydney Opera House. And so I really created the show for there, thinking that it might just be a 10-day run. But the thing was so successful that it just carried on going. And 3 years later, here we are. So that's how that happened.
You mentioned that there really hasn't been a big show since Copperfield, and specifically on Broadway, there hasn't been a magic show. That was 1996 maybe, or 2,
maybe,
something like that. Why do you think it is that there hasn't been something like, I mean, Vegas, you've got magic shows all over the place. New York, the magic scene is kind of quiet.
Well, I think it needed to be contemporized. So, I think that magic was going through a cyclical thing where, just like circus did, when Cirque du Soleil came along 20, 25 years ago, circus was sawdust and donkeys and lions and all that kind of stuff. So they took really what was already there and they presented it in a way that the audience of that year would really understand. And I think maybe that's what we tried to do with this, is to take these great acts and put massive production around them and an amazing modern soundtrack and very cool contemporary costuming and state-of-the-art production. And take some of because the last resurgence of magic really, was the 80s, so there was still a lot of that carried over to what stage magic was. So we tried to take, not get rid of that, because the tricks are still the tricks, but certainly present it in a very now kind of way.
If you could just, I know you want to talk about the Illusionists and promote that, but if just for a little context, I mean, is there something about doing a show like this in New York that's particularly challenging, as opposed to Vegas or even Branson, Missouri? I mean, it's striking to me. New York has something like 52 million visitors a year or something, and there's except for the Illusionists, there's been no magic shows.
It's a challenging place to do a show because of the expense. So it's an incredibly expensive city to put a show on, from the cost of advertising here to just the general cost of housing people. It's $400 a night per person to live in New York in a nice apartment during this time of year. It's incredibly, incredibly expensive. And that's really the challenge, because you have to know you're going to sell tickets. And luckily, we've had 2 or 3 years in a row where we've sold enormous quantities of tickets in tourist places. So everybody involved and all my partners were reasonably confident that the formula worked. The marketing was right, the show was right, the formula was right. So the risk was somewhat hedged in the fact that we knew what we were doing.
I'm assuming that this also kind of helps establish you for the longer tour that you're going on.
Oh, very much so. I mean, once it's been on Broadway, then you tour from the back of that. So it is very much a strategic way to tour America. But it's also just a great fit. It's magic, it's Christmas, it's Broadway. Those things go hand in hand. So it was a strategic play from that point of view.
It's interesting because I've heard a lot about this show. I've seen all the things on America's Got Talent and other things, but I even still didn't really know what to expect when I saw the show today. I liked all of it, but the section with Adam Trent I thought was really interesting. And I think that one of the things that I wonder about today is whether you feel you're fighting against iPads, games, Disney World,
Not at all. I don't think we're fighting against any of the technology. In fact, for me, the technology is helping us, because what the technology has done is shorten people's attention spans. That's exactly what it's done. So, because you can have instant gratification through YouTube. You want to see something, bam, it's there. 5 seconds later, you're watching the thing, whether it be a singer, magic trick, whatever you want. So for me, what that's created is a need and an urge to see things live, because is it real, is it not real when you see it on YouTube? Who knows? Is it CG, is it not CG? Is there even the people real? It's so amazing what they do these days. So for me, what it's done is it's created a need for shows that have for people like me with a short attention span. This show is like a rocket ship. I mean, it's act after act after act. Every 5 minutes, something new and big and amazing, or small and incredible, but it's a fast-paced roller coaster of a production. And that's what it's like on the internet. You want something, you get something. So I think the attention span and this show match, but having all that stuff on the internet has made the live thing more validated for me, because you can see a magic trick on TV. Who knows? Is it rigged? Is it stooges? Is there camera tricks? Go and see it live in the theatre. It is what it is. Like, it's, you nowhere to hide. You've got nowhere to go. It's the stage, the audience, and it bloody well better be right.
You've been involved with the show for a long time now. What has it been, 3 years?
Yeah, 3.5 years. We started writing it 3.5 years ago.
Yeah. So this might not really have one answer, but is there anything about it that you feel has been like the biggest challenge?
Yes. The biggest challenge with this show is being really brutal with the acts. And I mean, from the moment that you choose somebody to be in the show, having them, because these guys do a 2-hour show in their own right. And what you're saying is, we love your act. What we want to do is forget your choreography, forget your music, cut your act down from 10 minutes to 3 minutes and put it in this show. And there's been an awful lot of trust to do that. And it's taken us a long time. And at the beginning, we didn't get it quite right. It was very hard. We were, I don't know about magic at all. I didn't. Which gives the show the great strength, because basically you have to impress me and I know nothing. So am I saying wow? And that's what I wanted to know. So it's taken us a long time to get this lineup of people, which has changed a lot over the last 3 years. We've got the perfect lineup now. Really, truly, I would not switch a single cast member out. They are my 7 favourite for this version of the show, no doubt about it. But the challenge is definitely keeping them on board. Like when you say to Kevin, I've been doing this thing for 30 years, I want to change it slightly. He's like, uh-oh, I've heard this before. I've been down this road before, and it's ended with me going back to how I normally do it. So it's normally trustworthy of them. And, I give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, I would never make them do something they weren't happy with. But it definitely is about trying to everybody to understand that it's the sum of the parts that make the show wonderful. Like, it's not one act. When you ask the audience, what do you like about the show? You can ask 100 people, and every person has a different opinion. I love that Chinese, I love the Korean guy who does the cards. Hate the Korean guy who does the cards, it was boring, so not many people say that, but you get my point. It's like everybody has a very different favourite. My mother loves all the clever stuff and the beautiful stuff, whereas, the guys like all the, we make a big train appear, explodes on stage, oh, that was great, wonderful. So it's a very different thing. Kids like it differently to adults, and that's why it's so nice. They take different things. There's a lot of innuendo as well, which goes right over the kids' heads, but the parents get it on different levels. So it's very, very nice to see that playing out in an audience.
I've noticed that there's at least one other show out there that is marketing itself in a very similar fashion.
There is indeed, yeah.
Maybe you're proud of the fact that you've inspired something similar, but what do you feel about that?
Great things are always copied, That's how I see it. So it's flattering to see other people trying to embrace the art form, and hopefully, we do a fantastic job of it, and we're out there in the market. So it is what it is. It's flattering on many levels.
The 7 magicians in the cast of The Illusionists, and the names they've been given which indicate their specialties, are Andrew Basso, the escapologist, Aaron Crow, the warrior, Jeff Hobson, the trickster, Yu Ho Jin, the manipulator, Kevin James, the inventor, Dan Sperry, the anti-conjurer, and Adam Trent, the futurist. While I was interviewing Painter, Adam Trent was standing nearby, lightheartedly joking around and distracting his boss, so I had to ask Adam to join our interview.
it's a perfect example of how we collaborate with an act, because we take what they do and we apply all the technology and the production to it. So we say, hey, there's an amazing composer who's going to write music for this act. We're going to, rather than using projection, we're going to use LED screens. So we've taken the fundamentals of an act and we've enhanced it for this production. So it is a collaborative process, I think.
Absolutely, there's a lot of ideas you have as magicians that you would never want to pull off because you don't have the actual stage to do it. And you go, oh, that'd be amazing, but there's no way I can pull this off on my own show. Whereas here, you can actually make these things come to life.
Yeah, or Adam wouldn't want to pay for himself. So he gets old producer to pay for it. Wouldn't it be nice? Pyrotechnics, yeah. Wouldn't it be nice if the entire stage exploding just after I do this thing? Sure thing, Adam.
Okay, well... Simon, the last thing I was going to ask you before we got into this rollicking conversation was... you told me your biggest challenge. What's the biggest sense of accomplishment or pride that you have with this?
Absolutely, without a doubt, the biggest sense of accomplishment is seeing families, especially kids, watching this show with awe and wonder in their faces. It's an incredible, humbling experience. When I come out at the end of the show and I kind of sneak down to the front and look backwards and look at the people's faces, and it's families enjoying, really, truly loving the show together as a family. And you can see the dads like turning around to the kids saying, "Did you see that? Oh, Dad, I loved it." So that is a really unbelievably cool thing to do, and that's, it's what we maybe set out to achieve in terms of the kind of spirit of the show, and the fact that it's ended up being fun is the biggest thing. I see a lot of stuff all over the world, and I find a lot of shows really miserable. Like, it's a miserable experience, and that might be a good miserable thing. You go and see something that's very somber and very thoughtful. But this is anything but miserable. It's fun and it's over the top and it's unashamedly about the entertainment, and that's all we ever wanted to do.
Awesome.